All right, why don't you kick things off with a quarterback?
Yeah, here's a quarterback, folks. Nick Mullins. He's going to start apparently after Josh Dobbs' meltdown against the whoever they play, Raiders. By the way, you know what happened there, JJ? The team freaked out Dobbs, and they were basically like, "Look, kid, we're gonna yank you if you make one mistake.
Yeah.
Don't make one mistake."
Yep.
And a quarterback can't function like that, you
Yeah.
know. Like Zach Wilson. Look at Zach Wilson. He was trying to function like that, and he couldn't. And as soon as he didn't give an F, I'm keeping it clean for the kids. He played out of his mind.
Is there a part of you that actually thinks that Zach Wilson is good, but it's just all in his head? Everything's in his head.
Oh yeah, no. I hope that I've been clear. Like Zach Wilson has a lot of physical tools, should be good, not great, but should be good. But his confidence and his mental game completely shattered by the Jets.
He actually, his second half against Houston was like really remarkably good. Yeah,
it was good. Yeah. No, he doesn't. He literally told his teammates, "I don't give an F."
Yeah,
and so he played like it. Anyway, back to Nick Mullins. I think more of like a deep kind of desperation move here. I do think Mullins being a system knower is going to help in this Kevin O'Connell offense. Also, just for the Vikings offense in general, I think that Mullins is a closer copy of Kirk Cousins than Josh Dobbs was as a distributor of the ball, a guy who is not going to run almost ever and take away those pass attempts. So I do think that it's good for Hawkinson. It's good for Addison and maybe Jefferson if he plays. But he should have a decent floor.
I'm going to go to Jake Browning. Look, Denny, I think we got to be a little bit real here. Jake Browning has run pretty good over the last couple of weeks.
He's getting away with it, folks.
Yeah, I don't think that he's like bad. Did you know that he probably has the most impressive high school resume of like any quarterback of all time? Like
really?
I can't remember what the number was, but and someone can fact check me. But he threw his senior year. He had over like 90 touchdowns in high school.
No.
Yeah, like something obscene. Yes. What? Yeah, Jake Browning. Yeah.
Okay.
Like he was absurd statistically. So there's at least like some sort of backbone there of him being, a decent enough player, right? But over the last couple of weeks, he faced two top 10 opponents, favorable opponents, in adjusted points allowed in the Jags and the Colts. And he's also gotten a rushing touchdown in each of those games. So that's boosted his numbers a little bit. I also saw a tweet and I've seen people talk about he's gotten a lot of juice from the screen game. And, we saw that with like Chase Brown last week. I think that was a receiving touchdown, that he ended up scoring. So there's just been some things that have been pretty favorable for Browning. Now he gets Minnesota. Minnesota actually hasn't allowed a QB1 performance since week 5. So they've been playing better defensively. They're a bottom 10 matchup by adjusted points allowed. I know that I'm saying all these bad things about Browning, but I'm just kind of bringing it together to say, we're up here. We're real high with Jake Browning. Like we're like, oh my God, this guy's a QB, top 6 quarterback rest of the season. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to tell you is it's probably a little bit foolish to think that way. I mean, he's probably more, I haven't done my quarterback rankings this week, probably going to be a high end QB2, mid-range QB2, I would assume, in this spot, but you could start him. I need him to do well because I have him in a lot of Dynasty Superflex leagues in the playoffs. So I need him to step up and I just spent all my FOB whenever Joe Burrow ended up going down. But I mean, like I would love for him to crush it. I'm not as optimistic as I have been over the last couple of weeks.
Only the Broncos have been better per EPA on defense over the past 7 weeks than the Vikings. So it's been tough for Vikings opponents. Brian Flores is, quote, in his bag, and opposing quarterbacks are feeling that pain. I will say we have a commenter who delivers some news here. When Jake Browning scores a touchdown, he calls it, quote, going to Browntown. So I didn't know that.
We got people in chat too. We have Daigle and Dylan and Bougie who say that Browning in his senior year, Denny, he had a national record 91 touchdowns. He had a state record, Daigle says, of 5,700 yards.
And yet no one drafted him in fantasy, which is
I mean, curious, right?
Strange.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on to Gardner Minshew playing the Steelers. Steelers are a top 10 pass funnel over the past month. The Colts have the third highest neutral pass rate with Jonathan Taylor out over the past 2 weeks. I think that will continue, and so it could produce some volume for our guy Gardner.
I'm going to go to Will Levis against Houston. This is a deep play because Levis isn't that great from a fantasy perspective. At least he's shown some promise here and there. I mean, the game against Miami was wild.
He can keep Hopkins alive, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. I like Levis more if CJ Stroud ends up going with that concussion. I think if Stroud does not go, Levis is. I'm just like I would have a hard time. Like you want someone who is going to at least keep that game competitive and higher scoring. Not that it would be high scoring, but higher scoring. And if you're not having that like back and forth, really, really hard to trust Levis. But he's coming off that 16.6 point game against Miami. Houston's the 5th best matchup in adjusted points allowed. So, deep formats, you can go with Levis if CJ Stroud is in. If CJ Stroud's out, I would probably not play Levis.
All right. So, okay, we're on Flacco. So, all right, let me lay out this game has a lot of appeal because both of these teams are top 5 in offensive snaps allowed to opponents. Okay. So there should be a lot of plays here between the Bears and the Browns. I actually think it puts both defenses in play because, you could have a lot of passing, interception opportunities, whatever. But it also makes both quarterbacks. I think very good plays here, including Flacco. Bears, middle of the pack and drop back success rate allowed. 3rd most extreme pass funnel since week 10. Teams are basically not trying to run it anymore against the Browns. So I think we could see another 40+ drop back day for old Joe.